Hello, thanks for joining me in this video. My name's Gemma and I will not be trying to solve a literary murder mystery today because, dear Lord, do I need to learn how to make shorter videos. When I started the idea of the solving a murder mystery together, I did not anticipate the videos being as long as they've turned out to be. So I thought I would do something different, practice a video that's shorter to make and shorter to edit. And so I decided to do the Booktube Newbie Tag. I've taken the questions I'm using from Kari Can Read's channel. I'm taking hers as included questions, but also an update of her reading year at that point. And since the only videos I have on here at the moment are to do with solving murder mysteries, you guys have no idea what I normally read. So question number one, why did I start this channel? This might be a bit of a weird answer, but it was because I did a video editing class at work. So I work in an art centre and it includes all sorts of stuff, including training people on how to use certain programs, computer programs, particularly the Adobe series of kind of creative software. And they were running a class and they didn't have enough students in it, and so they emailed out to all the staff in the art centre saying, does anybody want to just like bolster the numbers in this class? And I said, yeah, sure. Just as something a bit different to do. I quite enjoyed the class, I found it very interesting, a mix of kind of creative work and, using a computer program. I work in the finance department of the art centre, so my work is very based around things like spreadsheets and accounting software and that kind of thing. So it's nice to do something a bit more creative. During the class we were talking about how you could make videos by yourself without a camera person to help you. We're talking about the limitations of like not being able to go places easily and film things without somebody holding the camera for you, basically. And I was thinking about what genres or options there are if you do only have yourself to make videos, but you still want to learn, or you still want to practice editing, and you're nowhere near, being able to do it as a job. And sort of, I thought of Booktube because I watch a lot of Booktube stuff. It seemed like there was a lot of people already on Booktube, and I wouldn't have anything particularly different to add. Until I came across the idea of the solving literary murder mystery together. There's definitely those videos already around and plenty already exist, but I did feel like it was more of a niche within Booktube and it wasn't oversaturated. So yeah, that's why I started the channel, to practice the editing that I'd learnt in a class, because it's one of those things like if you don't use it you're just going to forget everything. And in order to facilitate that, kind of having a go at making Booktube videos. Question number two, what can I bring to Booktube? Who knows? Nothing in particularly special, I don't think. The solving literary murder mysteries is definitely, as I say, like a niche, and so I know it's not going to be hugely popular. I don't actually mind if anybody particularly watches the videos. The ones I've made so far are definitely too long, so I think it's a skill in terms of brevity and deciding what to include and what not to include. At the moment, set it to so people could track my thought progress as I go throughout the book. They might want to read along with the book, or they might just want to watch the video, but be able to keep track of what's going on in the plot. But it's very reliant on me deciding what is important to tell the viewer, and then obviously just sometimes being wrong, because that's the nature of murder mysteries. You gloss over something that turns out to be hugely important later on. If you want to have an idea of the murder mysteries but receive full spoilers for them, then yeah, that's what my videos will be. Question number three, why do I love reading? I don't know, it's hard to answer because I always have. Maybe, theoretically that should make it easier for me to answer that question if I've been reading basically my whole life. But actually it's hard to explain something that's always been there. I was always a very nerdy little kid in school. I loved the Scholastics book fair. I wouldn't even say my taste in genres has hugely changed from when I was a kid. I've always loved escaping into another world, of reading, about completely different experiences, things that don't even exist in our world, dragons or creatures or whatever. I come from a family of readers, so it was always just the way things are. Next question, what book or series got me into reading? I mean, again, we're casting our minds back to ancient history, but it would be things like the Horrible History series. It's really showing my age. As a child, I really loved the Anne McCaffrey science fiction stories. Not actually so much the Dragons of Pern, which she's more well known for. I also really loved Orson Scott Card's books when I was sort of early teens. I have since learnt he and I disagree politically on many issues, and so I wouldn't actually buy his books new nowadays. But at the time I didn't know that. Ignorance was bliss, and I really enjoyed his books. What else? I'm trying to think. When I was a child, oh, Goosebumps. Even though I don't read horror nowadays, or not very much horror, but I loved the Goosebumps series as a kid. Yeah, so I don't know, I think like as soon as I learned to read, my parents encouraged me to read. Oh, the Biggles series. Captain W.E. Johns, is that the name of the author? My father read those to me when I was too young to read them completely by myself as bedtime stories. I do have one of the Biggles books. I found it in a charity shop, so I really should reread it and see what it's like nowadays, because I'm sure not only has it dated, but I wonder if I nowadays would think of it as a kid's book if I read it again, because my father definitely enjoyed the stories himself. He wasn't just reading them for my benefit, it was like a shared joy. Next question, however many we're up to. What challenges will you face? Editing. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I did a one-day class. It was on a different software from the software I actually have at home, because I don't have the Adobe suite. And you know, with any skill you need to practice it, and I just don't have the experience and practice, as you can probably tell from my earlier videos. Even things like the colour was all wrong on my first video, because the settings on my camera were wrong or something like that. I don't know fully what happened, but I changed the settings to automatic and it made everything look better. The last question seems to be, what books do you like to read? I think to demonstrate that, we will go to my red bookshelves, just for change of scenery. So I have 3 areas that I keep the books that I've read. I don't keep every book I've ever read. I only keep if it's in a series or so in the collection, or if I just really loved it. So first shelf, at the top we've got mysteries, standalone mysteries specifically. Well, actually Good Girl's Guide to Murder isn't a standalone, but it's the first in the series and I haven't read the rest yet. So anyway, there's a bit of an overview. And then if we go down, I've got sort of ancient history and mythological retellings and a bit of historic fiction at the front. And then that's poetry. This shelf is sci-fi, although I'm aware that Gideon the Ninth is more like sci-fantasy. We've got some classic vintage sci-fi at the back and more modern stuff at the front. That book is in the wrong place. It's supposed to be up at the top, but I couldn't reach. Then we've got the Murderbot series. How am I going to do this if it's all diagonal? Oh, you'll have to survive. Adrian Tchaikovsky's novellas. I haven't actually read any of his full-length novels. Then we've got more sci-fi, so the Firefly books, the Illuminae series. Then we move into fantasy, so this is very much urban fantasy. Sorry for the angle, but the Christmas tree is in the way, so I can't just stand directly in front of the shelf. So Rivers of London and its novellas and its graphic novels. Next shelf down is Discworld. I don't have the entire Discworld set because I don't like the covers of some of the earlier ones, the earlier illustrator. Those are the Dun Manifestin, Good Omens and Guards. Maybe I'll get them out one day and show them off. More Discworld. Then lower down we've got different fantasy. So the Gentleman Bastard series, the start of the Farseer stories with Assassin's Apprentice and such. Count of Monte Cristo and the Starless Sea, just because they don't fit anywhere else. And on the bottom shelf is, oh, you definitely can't see it, but it's basically more Terry Pratchett but not Discworld books, or things like the maps that aren't directly the novels, and then some Nick Bantock. So first on this side we've got some murder mysteries, or mystery books in general, that are series, and I've made progress in more than one book. So Thursday Murder Club, Yokomizo's detective series, Yashim the Eunuch. This is a book nook train going through a landscape. Anyway, and then on the other side, completely different, contemporary fiction. Then rotate round. This is non-fiction, but specifically biographies and memoirs, and then other non-fiction, down to my Agatha Christie books, with a card from my partner stuck in there. Then we've got the Brother Cadfael series I'm making my way through. Books about cats, just because why not? Down to graphic novels. Some of these could definitely go in other categories because of things like memoirs, but I like to have all the graphic novels together on. There we go. It's like a cafe scene, I think it's going to be. Then I have books from my Read the World series. It's very much a long-term project to read a book from each country in the world, and this is just a few of them to get me started. Down to, these are the books from it's kind of a book club I subscribe to. It's kind of a cross between a book club and a book box, but it's called the End of the World Reading Club, and so they're all apocalypse stories. I might do a vlog going through one of these, the books from this book club, because they have post-it notes inside of them. So you receive a series of parcels, and when you get to a post-it note, you open the parcel for that page and it relates to whatever is going on in the story. It's really cool. Now, having said I don't read much horror, this is the horror section. So it is mostly graphic novels, as you can see here. So I actually also subscribe to a graphic novel subscription box. So that's why there's quite a lot of them. And a few just regular novels. Then down to fantasy, standalone fantasy, or the first in a series that I haven't read more of yet. We go to standalone sci-fi. Then on the bottom shelf we've got books for either teens or children. Quite a few of these are graphic novels, but they're just separated out by age because space issues. We've got travel books, some literary travel guides, some more like inspiration coffee table books. So yeah, that's what I read. It's kind of a bit of everything, but with particular emphasis on mystery, sci-fi and fantasy, and quite a lot of graphic novels because of this subscription I have called Graphic Novel Station. The book I'm currently reading at the moment is called The Drift by C.J. Tudor. It is actually through that subscription box I mentioned, the End of the World Reading Club. In terms of a bit of an overview for this year so far, I mean, it is the 3rd of December, so it's practically the end of the year, but let's look at my story graph. So I've read 132 books this year, which even I consider ridiculous, considering I have a full-time job and everything. But reading is my main hobby, so it kind of makes sense, particularly when you consider that I read a lot of graphic novels, as I said, and also I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So I walk to and from work, and so I can have, but depending on where I'm working that day, I can have between 20 and 30 minutes of just solid audiobook listening time as I walk, and I'm on autopilot. So I do get through quite a chunk of those. If we look at things like pace and page number, that seems about right to me. You know, sort of, I like medium paced. Page-wise, actually, this year, there's a lot of short ones, which does surprise me. I would have thought they were more medium, but never mind. Audiobooks. Oh, interesting. That is also quite short. I wonder if I had quite a few novellas, maybe. Lots of fiction. My goal is always to read 12 non-fiction books by the end of the year. How many have I done this year? 10. Yeah, I could possibly catch up to that. Though I'm probably about to DNF a non-fiction book. And if we were to look at that further, I would guess that they're mostly memoirs. I am ashamed at like my lack of continuing education through books and reading just non-fiction about a subject. I really should do more of that. Genre-wise, so mystery, no surprise from out front. I would have thought that sci-fi would be higher than fantasy, but I guess not this year. Oh well. There's obviously overlap between these, so for example crime, thriller and mystery are often overlap with each other, so don't take these as pure individual books. And also the fine line between graphic novel and comic, you know. So these are tags I've created myself. So 18 of the books I've read this year came through my subscription for Graphic Novel Station. 13 I either read or listened through the app Libby. I have 2 libraries connected to my Libby account, my local one and the one where my family live, because it has a much better catalogue than my local one. And my local one's about to get rid of Libby and move over to BorrowBox, so I don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll see. BookCycle is a local charity shop. I used to work there and I still visit frequently, so it's no surprise that 11 came from there. Only 6 from the End of the World Reading Club. I'm really behind. Like, they send out a book each month. Yeah, oh, backlog. Format is not accurate. I'll just say that now, because if I have a book that's physically in my unread room upstairs and I listen to an audiobook when I'm walking to and from work, I will still tag it as the physical book that has been read, because I want to keep Storygraph relatively closely matching what's upstairs, and that's just the best way to catalogue it and keep it accurate. Most read author, yeah, Agatha Christie, not a huge surprise, partially because of the projects I've been doing for this, but I mean, I've only filmed 2 Fat Cat Detective Agency videos with an Agatha Christie book so far. Yeah, I'm making my way through the Locked Tomb series. If anybody's confused by the number 6, considering there's only 3 novels out, just remember there are short stories online and Storygraph counts them as being separate. I've read a few of the Expanse books and the short stories in between them. I've only read 2 of the main novels. Ellis Peters wrote the Cadfael series that you saw up on my shelf. And then again, this isn't accurate because if I'm logging a book as print, even though I listened to it, the minutes, the green line for the minutes won't be accurate, but books read, the blue line, is accurate. So November I read 6 and I haven't finished any so far. But yeah, overall 132 books and pretty good overall. I mean, I think I've had the whole range of ratings from nothing below a 2.25 thankfully, but a whole range between those points and a 5. How many 5 stars? 16. Not bad. But yeah, mostly 4s, which is still good. So yeah, I haven't decided how many of my videos will be purely solving literary mysteries or other kind of booktube content. We'll just see how it goes. I'm not committing to anything. It's just for fun. It's just to keep practicing editing, not placing any expectations on myself or anyone else. But thank you very much for watching.